Hey, Patrick. We'll get to you in the agenda. So
Yep.
just
Announcing as well. Sorry.
yeah, that's okay.
I actually have a planning board meeting I'm going to be on as well on another screen. I'm just going to mute my feeds, and if you need me, just holler and I'll switch over.
Brad, are you all set to for us to start the show? Looks like we have everybody, huh?
Yeah, just give me like 15 seconds because
Okay.
it takes there's a little bit of lag when I hit record.
All right.
Just in
You
case.
you tell me. I hit the wrong
All right,
button.
I'm gonna start recording now, but wait 15 seconds. Thanks.
All right. Yep. Good evening. It is April 20th, 2021, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. As a preliminary matter, this is John Ostrowski, Chairman of the Conservation Commission. Please permit me to confirm that all members and support staff are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Martha Gatch?
Here.
Jason Port?
Present.
Bob Jakes?
Here.
Ken Polito?
Here.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Brad Stone?
Here.
This open meeting of the Conservation Commission is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. Due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the outbreak of the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will feature public comment. For this meeting, the Conservation Commission is convening by telephone and video conference via Google Meet, as posted on the town's website identifying how the public may join. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do so, permit me to cover some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I, the chair, will call on each applicant to make their project presentation. After they conclude their presentation, the chair will go down the line of commission members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide any comment or questions. After commission members and staff have spoken, the chair will afford public comment. The chair asks that members of the public who wish to speak identify their names and addresses only. Upon completion of public comment, I will call upon the commission members to offer a motion and then for a second. Each vote taken on the motion will be conducted by roll call vote. Lastly, please remember to mute and unmute your phone by pressing *6 or mute your computer when you are not speaking so as not to trigger your camera feed or background noise. All right. Moving on to our agenda. Our first item is to review and approve minutes, and we do not have any minutes tonight ready for approval. Item 2, sign bills. I take it, Brad, we will sign the bills when we go to sign the orders of conditions.
Yes, if there's anything to be signed, I'll have them ready for you.
Okay. And moving on to item 3, which is our meetings and hearings. Our first two, well, actually, our first one is Peter Collins here tonight?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so let's do Peter right up front here. This is a continued public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by the Lake Quinsigamond Commission to implement a long-term vegetation management plan at 144 Sewell Street, Newton Pond. And it's actually beyond, it's in Lake Quinsigamond. No, it'll benefit Lake Quinsigamond, right?
That's correct.
Yep. All right. Why don't you bring us up to date, Peter? What's gone on since our last meeting?
Well, the quick update is that there's no update from Boylston yet. Their next meeting is on the 26th, which is next week.
All right.
So, I know that the commission wanted to wait and see what they were going to come up with for any suggestions. And we haven't heard from them, so. I guess I'd ask for another continuance, or unless you wanted to.
It's up to you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, go ahead, Bob.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question. When is this scheduled, Peter, to be applied optimally?
What is the chemical you mean?
No, what, the timing? When would you optimally like to apply?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, we'd like to do it, as early as possible, meaning probably May or June. And I know we're kind of getting into crunch time here, so I fear that we may miss our window this season for this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, why wouldn't we close the hearing and approve this in the event that next week they're fortunate enough to get an approval from Boylston, and then they can move on?
I wouldn't object to that. The only risk is if they put conditions on it that would be adverse to our commission, but I don't know.
Well, we could always just amend it.
Yep, I would agree, Bob. At this point,
Because it looks like they could-
thought we would hear from Boylston much sooner.
Right.
And now it's getting, like Bob said, dragging out. So,
Because at a minimum, they're going to lose 3 weeks here,
yeah, I know.
waiting for
Yes.
our next meeting.
I know. And maybe, who knows, maybe Boylston will approve on the 26th. Peter, what do you think? We don't want to you have to make the call, what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my preferred route, would be to close the hearing and approve on your side.
Okay.
I don't anticipate any real, or any significant issues that we're going to have with any order of conditions from Boylston. This is a pretty cut and dry thing that we've been doing for a while. So I don't think the peer review is going to bring up much that we haven't covered.
Okay. All right. So
No.
you are asking.
Mr. Chairman, I'd also like, I wonder if Ken has any comment on this. Should we proceed like this, Ken?
Mr. Chair, yes, I think we should. We could always incorporate any concerns that Boylston has into ours if needed. Also, the town of Shrewsbury, through the town meeting, has appropriated the funds to do this work. So the town of Shrewsbury is paying, along with the residents of Sewell Street, Newton Pond, are paying for this. So I think it's appropriate to close it, and hopefully we can get a treatment in for this season.
Okay. So we will, well, let's go to the public, Peter, to see if we have anybody listening in who has any questions or comments before we close the hearing.
Okay.
Does anyone in the public out there have any questions or comments on this particular hearing before we close it tonight? All right, I'm not hearing any, so we'll close the hearing, Peter.
All right, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, we have two more. The next two hearings, I believe they're both by Equestrian Building Company. They're continued public hearings. One is a public hearing regarding the notice of intent filed by Equestrian Building Company for driveway construction, utility connections, and drainage connections at 183 Spring Street. They've asked that they be continued to our next meeting, which is May 18th. And their second one is also a continued public hearing, and it's regarding the notice of intent filed by Equestrian Building Company for the construction of a single-family house, utility connections, and stormwater management systems at 185 Spring Street. They've also asked that that be continued to our next meeting, which will be May 18th. Before I read the next one, it is 23 Shirley Road. I believe this is a Norman Hill project. Is a representative here tonight for this project? Brad, have you heard if anyone's going to be here? Brad?
Just double checking on the invites, John.
Okay.
I know we sent it to Norman and also the client, and I actually don't see a response from either.
Okay. Well, why don't I read it and we'll continue it. If they're not here, we'll just carry it to our next meeting. All right, this is also a continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by AC Daces for backyard hardscape and landscaping, including retaining wall, walkway, stairs, and planting at 23 Shirley Road. Apparently, nobody is here tonight representing that project, so we will continue it to our next meeting, which is May 18th. Okay, we're going on to another continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by Leuven Realty LLC to construct a 4,080 square foot medical office building, paved parking area, stormwater management facilities, and site grading at 235 Main Street. Is John Grenier here?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. I'll give a quick overview of the project, just in case anybody's unfamiliar, and I'll give you an update with what has transpired since our last hearing date. So, this is the redevelopment of 35 Main Street. As everyone knows, historically was the Lundgren and United Dairy, and since then the building was torn down about 5 years ago. There is still open pavement that runs off towards resource areas. Everything flows in a southerly direction towards Main Street. So this proposal is for a proposed dentist office, a medical office, which is 4,080 square feet, which sits approximately in the same location where the old building was. There is proposed parking on the easterly side of the building, and on the front left, which is the southwest, we are proposing a infiltration basin that would capture the runoff from impervious areas. We've added a little forebay right off the edge of the pavement. The runoff then goes through a water quality swale into a forebay and then into the formal recharge basin. So since our last hearing, we did meet out in the field with Brad Stone, and we confirmed the limits of that bank, which is on the southwesterly side of the property that ultimately feeds into a culvert that runs under Main Street. So we confirmed the location of that resource area, that bank in the field. And also we confirmed the limit of pavement that currently exists out on the site. In addition to that, was a question from the engineering department and from your committee to how we were going to make sure that we keep the flow. There is a culvert pipe that runs from the pond that is at the north side of the property, and that runs through the site and into another channel, which is on the southeasterly portion of the property. So what you were looking for was, how are we going to transfer from what would be a new culvert pipe from the old? So we met out in the field with the site contractor who's going to be doing the work for this project. And what we came up with was, we're going to run the new culvert pipe separately from where the existing culvert pipe is. We're going to run almost parallel, although we have to run it more angular to avoid the building. So we're going to install the new pipe in a separate trench from where the existing pipe is. And if you'll notice on your plans, on right where the head wall is, where on the southeasterly portion of the main site, we're adding an additional drain manhole there. So we can run all of the new drain line from that new drain manhole, which is on the southeasterly part of the site, right before into that channel, and run that all the way up to the pond. And then in one shot, after that is all installed, then there's 8-foot length of pipe that would go from that manhole out to the head. So that would be the last piece of the pipe that would be, the old pipe would be removed from that section, and then they'd install that 8-foot length of pipe in less than a day. So that the existing pipe will run consistently for any storm events. And then once the new pipe is installed, then they can just make that one last length of pipe transition, and then the new pipe will be functioning. Will go on. So we have that detailed in our construction sequencing, and that will be, once the site is brought up to grade, that drain line will be installed first, because in order for the building to get built, the old drain line would have to get removed. So one of the first things that's done on site is bring everything to grade, then install that new drain line and get that functioning. And then the balance of the other site prep, foundation work, and driveways, et cetera, would be installed. So we came up with what we think is a good plan. It'll work. We'll make sure that the existing drain line works and functions until we're ready, and then we'll just take offline, put the new line, that last section pipe in for the new line. So it seems like it should work without any incident or leaving the site exposed for any length of time whatsoever.
John, by any chance, do you have can you share the screen on that particular plan, or in case some commission members don't have access to?
I can't, well, I could, but it'd probably take too long.
Oh, okay.
I'd have to pull it up off of,
Yeah, all right. We'll see if the commission members have enough info based on your verbal to see.
Okay.
And then if not, maybe Brad will have to pull it up, but.
So that was really the main, we want to verify a couple of resource areas and conditions on site, which we did. And the other big modification was just to make sure that we can rerun the new pipe independently of where the old drain line is, so that we're not leaving the site exposed. So those are really the big modifications or verifications that we did. And again, if just to remind everyone, there was a previous order of conditions issued for this site for a larger building with additional pavement. And we believe that the proposal that we have before you now works well. It fits in well with the neighborhood. We spent quite a bit of time having conversations with some of the abutters to make sure that what we're proposing fits in with a lot of the surrounding neighborhood. So, and since we've been out to the site a number of times, we've had some conversations, particularly with the Gannons, and they are thrilled. They're looking for the site to get built, and they want the project to move forward. So that's encouraging. So with that, I'd share with any questions or comments.
Okay. Martha?
So John, I'm looking at the revisions of 413. Are those the most recent ones?
That's correct, Martha.
Okay, great, thank you. Are you doing any planting in there, any trees?
There's going to be, within the site itself, there is going to be quite a bit of, I'm flipping over to what is sheet 7, Martha.
Okay,
So along the perimeter of the paved areas, we have a number of plantings along the property lines, and a lot of that is for screening purposes. And I think what's probably in more interest to you is in the area that's in the back left portion of the property adjacent to the pond. That's the area that's going to be disturbed when we run new drain lines. And there's quite a bit of invasive plantings in there. So we want to make sure that once the site grading is done, we're planting that. And I think we have a number of mountain laurel that are going to get planted in and around the disturbed area adjacent to the pond, so that it doesn't give a chance for other invasive to get in there and take over.
okay. I just wanted to check that you're not planning on using any Cleveland pears or Bradford pears or anything like that?
No, we're using more pin oaks and white pines, and
Okay,
maybe a couple of ornamental like dogwoods out at the entranceway. But we
All
want
right.
more evergreens around the perimeter for screening for the abutters.
all right, sounds good. Thank you, John.
Jason?
No questions.
Bob?
No questions.
Ken?
No questions.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, hearing none. We'll close the hearing, John.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate your time. And,
Okay.
and I appreciate Brad coming out to the site and taking his time. It was really, so thanks again.
Good night, John.
All right, have a good night.
You ready for the next one?
Yes, this is a new one. Go ahead, Martha.
Okay. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions oh, wait a minute. Sorry, I'm on the wrong page. Here we
Martha?
go.
Martha?
Yeah, I'm here.
Before
I'm
you
here.
start, do we have files? I want to ask Brad if we have file numbers for all of these. There's a number of them on our agenda that the file numbers aren't complete. If Brad can tell us.
I'll let you know which ones we don't have, but I believe we just got this North Street one today. You know, maybe the applicant can confirm that, but I think we're okay with this one, but
Okay.
I'll double check as we go through them.
Okay, beautiful.
Okay.
All right, Martha.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Christopher Wild, 216 North Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home addition, deck, and grading at 216 North Street. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20, 2021.
Do we have a representative tonight?
Yes, good evening, Scott Jordan from Ecotech. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. I believe Carl Hultgren from Quinn Engineering, the project engineer, is also online. Let's see if I can, there's Carl. See if I can share this plan with you folks. If I can cue it up. One second. How's that? Can we see that plan?
Not yet.
Okay. Carl, do you happen to have that plan handy? Appreciate it.
Can you see that?
Great. Yes, thank you very much, Carl. Good evening, folks. So this property is 216 North Street, located on the south side of North Street. And it is just west of Blackthorn Road and the Northborough Town Line. Ecotech was on the property last month to delineate wetlands. We found a BVW located just off site to the east, and we delineated that with flagging A series 1 to 12. We are showing the buffer zone on the plan, 100-foot buffer zone. This is an existing single-family house with existing driveway and lawn. The applicant, Mr. Wild, is proposing to do some additions at the south side of the property for his growing family. It's actually two very small additions that are proposed. The easterly one is 8 by 16 off the back of the house. There's an existing deck he's going to take off right there, put on an 8 by 16 addition. And then just to the west will be a 14 by 14 addition. And then the new deck. There's very minor grading proposed on the western side of the property. Just a foot or two of fill there. There's sort of a gentle depression there. He wants to level that lawn a little bit. The westerly addition does have a full basement, so we do have a foundation drain, which will daylight. We, of course, are showing a erosion control barrier at the limit of work. And at the south end of the property, you can just see on the left side, left corner of the property, there's an existing shed that we're proposing to move. It's very close to the property line right now. So we're going to scoot that over to maintain the 10-foot zoning setback for that shed. Again, we will daylight the foundation drain. We will have a silt fence also down at the proposed shed, where we're going to move that in case we have to level that shed a little bit. And that is actually the proposal. And I'll turn it back to the board if they have any questions.
Martha?
I'm all set, thanks.
Jason?
I'm all set.
Bob?
All set, thank you.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
The only comment I had is just for the erosion control. I'd like to see the combination of the silt fence and hay bales.
We can absolutely show that. We can get that over to you probably shortly, Carl, I think.
Yep. Good evening, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman. Carl Hoffman, Quinn Engineering. We can definitely do that.
Okay. That's it, Brad?
Yes, thank you.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I don't hear any, so we'll close the hearing.
You set for the next one, Mr.
Yes,
Chair?
all set, Martha.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll
You're
get the
welcome.
plan right over to you, Brad. Thank you.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Patrick Carroll, doing business as 5 Star Tree Service, 867 Grafton Street, Unit 10, 38, Worcester, Mass. 01604, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of 4 trees at 212 South Quinsigamond Avenue. A public meeting will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20, 2021.
Do we have the applicant? He was on earlier.
Yes, sir.
There you are, Patrick.
Good evening, everyone. Filed the notice of intent for the removal of those 4 trees as mentioned. Those trees, the 2 of them are white pines, and 2 of them are red oaks. They're on the bank from between the house at 212 South Quinsig and Lake Quinsigamond. I had provided an aerial a couple aerial photographs with by application. And as you can see, they're really the only trees left in the area. They've kind of grown too big for the area in that they're only getting bigger, and they're going to come down at some point. What goes up must come down, and either pieces or a whole tree will come down in that area between the deck and the house, and potentially causing damage to the adjacent properties as well, because basically the close proximity of the area, I would say. There's nowhere good for them to really go. So they've kind of hit the limit of their lifespan. And as mentioned, we're going to put a crane in the driveway, take them out, safely and really with the best industry practices in that matter. And other than that, it's about the only way to do it. Leaving the stumps in place to stabilize the hillside. There's no plan being put forth to take them out. And believe that there is going to be a plan put forth for some work on the seawall and some Chapter 91 work in the future at the property, at which time I imagine the hillside there'll be a more comprehensive plan put forward for soil stabilization and landscaping. Until that point in time, though, the stumps will be intact for, I'd imagine, 5 to 10 years, and the root masses will stabilize the hillside for that time. At that, if anybody had any questions about the project, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Martha?
I'm all set for the moment, thank you.
Jason?
I'm sorry, I may have missed this. How do you plan on taking them down? Are you bringing equipment back there? Are you bringing
No,
or
sir.
are you doing it all by hand in ropes, bringing them all down?
So I'm going to put a 90-ton crane in the driveway.
And go over the house? Okay.
Just going to fly them right out.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm all set.
Bob?
I'm all set.
Ken?
Is there a plan you can share?
Yes, sir. I don't know if I had submitted blueprint, excuse me, not a blueprint, a hand-drawn scheme and some photographs with my application. I don't know if we can put them up on screen to share. There you go, sir. And yeah, as Ed mentioned, the pine, those have a relatively shallow root mass. And as you can see, it's right on the retaining wall there. So that's only going to further compromise the root structure of that in that direction. with prevailing winds coming, out of the north and east like that, it's more or less pushing, or anywhere from the east, southeast, northeast, it's just being pushed toward either the neighbors, that house, or the other neighbors, should the wind take the sail effect and push that toward back. If we were to remove one tree, it would just increase the wind load on the others as well, and just give them more ample room to grow and create a further problem down the road.
Have you had these looked at an arborist?
An arborist has not looked at them. I have looked at them. I could find defects on every single one of those trees that would make me question, other than the fact that where they're growing, trees don't grow forever. A tree has a lifespan, in that it grows to its structural limit and then falls over. You see it either from decay on the inside when it can no longer support itself, or from, in the case of that pine will grow till it's too tall, and then the wind will push it over. That is a fact.
Can you keep some of these trees? You have to take them all down?
As I was saying, I would recommend taking them all down. Tree number 4 is on the adjacent neighbor's property. The walkway, as you can see, if you'd there's a walkway coming down, stairs coming down to the beach area. There's a retaining wall behind it and to the side of it. There's just no real room for the root mass on that to expand further to support any weight as it continues to grow. It's just the natural course of a tree. They grow for sunlight, and those ones have a lot of sunlight, and that all the neighboring trees have already been removed.
Yeah, I'd like to see a report, at least from an arborist, saying that what condition they're in, and I don't know how we can allow you to take tree down on somebody else's property.
The neighbor had given permission to have it done while the crane was there, as a matter of economy, in that if they have to pay to have a crane come back, it's going to be, a good significant portion of that job's cost. It's a lot less to add than it is to come back, in essence. So they would have been happy to, but if the neighbor, if they don't want it taken down, then that's, they were more than happy to have it done and included into the price, I should say. We can get permission for that at a later date. Not at a later date. If we want to return to this meeting, as I'd said, it's not a question of the defects within the trees, in that a tree has a natural lifespan, in that those don't have much room to grow, and it is a pretty congested area. I don't anticipate that they're going to fall toward the lake. I imagine when they do fall, they will fall toward a populated area. I just had a friend crushed by a tree. It's a regular thing in my living. So a lot of people don't look at them the same way I do, I would say. Those are so the definition of a hazardous tree by the U.S. Department of Agriculture is a tree with a defect and a target. There is ample targets through 180 degrees of any of those trees. That's fully a 50% probability in any direction that fall, that there would be an issue. And as far as defects go, if you want to zoom in, that tree growing on top of that retaining wall would be considered a defect in and of itself. It's the location is compromised to begin with, and never should have been allowed to grow that tall.
I'm all set for now.
Okay. Brad,
Well, I guess, first of all, this is probably the most complete application for this type of project that I've ever seen. So I really appreciate the photos and the level of effort that you put into the plan, Patrick. You set the bar pretty high for the rest of the people in town with this. Couple of questions. One, you mentioned the retaining wall down by the lake. Is that, how soon on the radar is that for repair replacement?
So that the retaining wall to the left, that's an adjacent property. The condominiums to the left is not the landowner's property. The seawall down by the lake, I believe the landowner wanted to basically modernize the area, because as you can see, it's just a fieldstone wall. I was hired to do the trees. I'm really just this is more hearsay, I would say. And the landscaper, the project that I'm working with as well, I believe he's got some interest in it. But so to do any work on that seawall, you'd have to file the Chapter 91 and wait till the lake's drawn down. So you'd be talking about winter time, either next winter or the following, I'd imagine. Or I'd say fall, before it freeze, but after the lake is drawn down.
Okay, so the reason I brought that up is a couple of things. I'm not convinced you need Chapter 91 license for that. You would definitely need to file a notice of intent for that. But the
Okay.
commission is aware of the failure for the retaining wall in the condominium project, and
Okay.
they're actually preparing to file a notice of intent for the repair of that wall as we speak. And
Yeah.
looking at your client's property and thinking about access and things like that, if that wall ever failed or was close enough to needing some work because it was, failure was imminent, I'm concerned how somebody's going to access that site to do it. So knowing that something is happening very soon next door, your client may want to start talking to them, tomorrow
Yes.
perhaps, and see if there's, some type of a joint project they can do there, and get those two properties done at once if he
Absolutely.
so chooses to.
Because as far as getting any equipment to do work on the seawall and area there, I've got ideas, but they're only ideas and they're not anything. It'd be extravagant. You'd either need to put something down there with a crane and bring something in with a barge, but if the neighbor has access and they can be granted access via their property, I'm sure the neighbor would be ecstatic to hear that.
Right, and the neighbor, from what I understand, the neighbor has been granted access right now for the 2 lots down from your clients. So in exactly what you said, they would be using cranes to haul in equipment, things of that nature. So once the wall next door is built, that opportunity may be gone because people may not want equipment going through the yard at that point. So
Absolutely.
it's something that definitely bring up to your client and have them talk to the condominium people if need be there.
Absolutely. That as far as that goes, yeah. I will talk to both the client and the condominium side, and yeah, I could see the seawall there had failed at some point, I imagine, through the winter from erosion being undermined. But these things happen. It's good to hear
Okay.
it's being fixed, and yeah, if anybody had any more questions, I'd be more than happy to answer.
All right, let's see if anyone in the public is tuned in to this. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? All right, I'm not hearing any. How do we want to proceed at this point? Ken's raised some concerns. Ken, you were looking for an arborist to actually assess some of the conditions, but I know Patrick's looks at it a different way with his 2 target and the lifespan type thing. So
Trees are the silent killer.
yeah, no, I
Yeah,
understand.
no, I'm just concerned that if they could be saved and if they are in good shape and an arborist gave us a report saying so, fine. We're losing a lot of trees on the lake and it's habitat and it's shade.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think we're all concerned with.
Yeah. The only thing, I mean, these are tall trees.
They are tall trees.
And if
Go on, sir.
no, I was going to say if they do fall toward the house, they could probably strike any one of those 3 houses. And that's 3 targets more or less in a way that I see. And I understand what you're saying, Patrick, about the proximity to the retaining wall, no place for the roots to grow.
Yeah, that's what provides the
Yeah.
what anchors the backside of the tree.
Yeah, no, I understand. I hate to see the trees go, to tell you the truth, but I see your side of it too. Does anyone else? Go ahead.
The Wetland Protection Act 'cause I read through it. It does offer provisions for trimming trees over roadways, and that, you know, that they cause a hazard to the public health. But there's nothing actually written as such if a tree is over someone's home, and it would seem to me that the standard should be much lower for that, and that a person's home is there 100% of the time versus intermittent or, you know, infrequent even traffic.
Right.
May I ask one more question, Mr. Chair?
Sure, go ahead, Martha.
Are there any plans to replant in that area, Patrick?
So the current hillside there is mulched. It is a bed. Once that there is a lot, you know, light moves forward in that area, I know that there is a plan. As I had mentioned with the seawall, when that goes through, there would be a more comprehensive planting, a plan for planting as well with that permit to go through.
Okay.
So
And
in
it might.
the interim, so I guess to answer the question is, in the interim, I do not have a plan put forward for any sort of soil stabilization because we're going to be leaving the stumps. So there's really going to be no change as far as erosion control or anything needed. The current conditions are in essence going to be maintained on the ground. It's just that the aerial conditions of the trees won't be there. It'll make for a planting to be easier, though, that there will be unfettered access to sunlight.
Correct. Thinking of a way to soften the blow of losing habitat, you could cut the stumps high so that they continue to provide habitat without endangering the structures.
Absolutely.
You could put in bushes or something that would. I'm not worried about the erosion, at least not initially. The roots will be sufficient to stabilize the slope, I think.
Yes. Okay. But moreover, as habitat for any shore wildlife, say you know, birds and you know, small basically chipmunks and squirrels and such. Yeah, I would imagine a planting or you know, maybe some yew or anything like that ahead. You know, some planters on the stumps with the stumps cut high and flat would be perfect because it would offer you know, the birds a place to land still, and it would you wouldn't have a bare section of shore for that, you know, per se. It would actually be more aesthetically pleasing.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm all set, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Brad.
Mr. Chair, I have an additional question
Yep, go ahead.
to Brad, actually. Brad, in the event of this repair of the seawall, would it be possible to repair this seawall without removing these trees?
Possibly. So just that
Isn't
one
it-
long
isn't
one
there-
on the water.
Isn't there proximity to that seawall such that it would compromise even a new seawall?
Depending on how high it is. In my recollection of the one next door, you probably don't have the height where, you know, even if they're doing the geotechnical blocks where they've got to roll everything laterally out for the stabilization. You're probably not going that far back, but I mean, you do have that upper kind of wall for that tree number 3 that was there. I just assume get that tree out of there for that particular wall alone. And then, you know, my opinion on the other trees is they're buffer zone trees. You know, I get more concerned with the ones closer to the lake, not these types of pines that are further up the hill. You know, and if there's anything additional planting wise to replace it, you know, the lower story stuff, that'd be my route for it. But to answer your question, Bob, the wall specifically, not 100% convinced that has to go for the wall work.
Okay.
All right. Brad, this is for a request for a determination of applicability tonight. If we take a vote on it and it gets a negative, which is good for Patrick, we're all set. And if it doesn't pass, then the option is to probably come back with a notice of intent with some further massaging of the plan, correct? What are our options, you know?
I guess the first question I'd have is, you know, if the commission feels that it's a positive determination, then ask yourself what's the impact to the resource area that's leaning you towards the positive determination. So that's really what I'm getting at. So if you think the resource area is going to be impacted by the removal of these 4 trees, then yes, they would have to file a notice of intent to show that they can prevent those impacts to the resource area. If that's helpful. So I guess from my perspective, I'd be leaning towards persuading the commission to issue a negative determination for this.
Yeah. Mr. Chair, if I can make a point.
Sure.
I would agree with Brad, right? You know, I understand Ken's position about arborists, but you know, it's clear to my untrained arborist eye, you've got 4 trees that are left on really 1.5 lots here. Every other tree in site has been removed for a whole host of development reasons. These people should not be penalized because they have potentially dangerous trees in their yards. It's not going to impact the resource area. They should be allowed to take them down. I think we should go to a vote and just be done with it.
Okay. Anybody else on the commission have any comments before we go to the vote? All right.
Well, that being the case, Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition.
Okay, do we have a second on that? Is that you,
Second.
Martha? Okay.
Yes.
All in favor? Let's do a roll call. Martha,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Ken,
No,
and myself, John. Aye. So it looks like the ayes have it. So it's a negative determination, Patrick, which is good for you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay,
Thank you, members of the commission.
you're welcome.
Patrick, if you could just keep in mind the discussion that you and I had about habitat, that would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yep, that will be kept in mind, and I will. I'm going to put that forth to the homeowner that it's in essence a condition of the negative determination.
Excellent.
All right. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful night. Thank you.
Okay, Martha, are you ready?
Yes. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Scott Barrows, 16 Norcross Point, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the removal of the existing building, decks, and pavement, and construction of a new single-family home with a deck, retaining wall, pavement, and additional site work. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20, 2021.
Who's the representative tonight for this? So Scott, are you?
This is Bob Murphy representing Scott Barrows.
Okay,
We are planning on essentially replacing the existing house at the 16 Norcross Point. Replace it with a new house, and that would involve work in the buffer zone of Lake Quinsigamond. We are planning also as part of the project to repair the existing retaining wall on the water. We would anticipate doing that work on the water during the drawdown period, where there's really no water adjacent to the wall at that time. That's just a small part of the project. The main project, the house and landscaping, grading, is all work requires order of conditions. We're planning on removing one oak tree that, again, as you talk about the target, the house is a target. The predominant wind in this area is from the northwest. We've actually had several oak trees this winter come down, as well as some tall white pines come down in this neighborhood, and severely damaging the houses, property. So we know that the predominant wind in this area is from the northwest, and that's the direction that the tree is adjacent to the house. That being said, we plan on planting some additional oak trees on the site, a minimum of 2, again, to replace it. The grading at the house basically we're going to have similar grading in the front. The garage faces Norcross Point. That area, that side is going to have very little change in grade. It will have new pavement, new grass, landscaping all around the house. But essentially, it's just a home replacement project in the buffer zone. With, other than the retaining wall, there's no actual work, in the wetlands. Basically, with that, I could answer any questions that you might have.
Martha?
I don't have any questions yet. Thank you.
All right. Can somebody put a plan up to show the proposed work on this? Are you able to share, Bob, the screen? No?
I'm not capable of doing that, but I know that there was a PDF file sent to the commission. So Brad might be able to bring something up.
Yeah, I'd like to just have that up so the commissioners can see it.
I do have I have a PDF drawing. It's just I'm not really familiar with how to get it into. Oh, here it
Yeah,
goes.
Brad's pulling it up right now.
Okay,
There
yeah,
it is.
this is the drawing. If you look at basically looking at the picture on the right side, you can see we have the temporary construction entrance on Norcross Point. The house overlays, the proposed house overlays the existing house, where you have a garage, a separate garage, and a building, the house. It's now going to be combined as one building, but it overlays the same setbacks. It's basically the same size setbacks for the building. Where right now there's a deck on the water side. We're going to take that deck out and replace it with a raised deck. So what you'll have is sauna tubes with posts. And we have 2 rows of erosion control. The dark lines that you see adjacent to the water and halfway to the house, those are a double row of erosion controls. And then along the side of the property as well. So we're going to be putting in a stairway along what would be the right side, facing it from the street, along the right side. Again, it's right up to an existing retaining wall in that area. The trees that you see, there's one, the largest tree is an oak tree. That really doesn't represent the full size of the tree. That shows you where the tree is. The tree itself is actually over the house. It's quite large. But and the 3 smaller trees that you see are replacements. We're going to provide replace the trees with similar planting details, either red or white oak, but be native trees in that area. And there's currently 2 docks on the water, retaining wall, granite steps going down to the water. That's all to remain. But there's a stone retaining wall. It's actually boulders. It's stone wall. The mortar in the stones is pretty well gone. The walls are the rocks are starting to come down. That has to be repaired. It's going to be repaired in the same place. There's no additional fill or anything like that. It's just a request to repair that wall. You can see along the side of the front, there's essentially where it says 16 Norcross Point. That whole area is paved right now. And we're going to replace the paving where that's a parking lot for a single car. And the whole area in the front yard or the waterside yard will be all landscaped. Beneath the deck will be a brick patio. The bricks are set in sand. The soil here is a Merrimack sand, so there's virtually no runoff through the bricks and or the grass area. It's very extremely porous soil. So we don't anticipate any issues relative to stormwater management, just because the soil here is quite porous. But again, with that, I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, let's go back to Martha again. Helps us out a lot more. Martha, anything from the?
What are you doing as far as roof runoff? What's the drainage plan there?
Pretty much let it drain off, onto the side, and then we have stone, like a stone riprap base all around the edge on the landscape side. The paved side, okay. Right now, it's similar to what's going into that area now. It actually the runoff from the house, and if you look at the arrows, you'll see the runoff goes towards Norcross Point, and it doesn't go into the pond directly. The landscaped side, where, as I mentioned, we're going to have the brick patio there and set in sand, and all of that water can get absorbed. But we don't anticipate any increase in stormwater runoff.
Okay.
It's basically the same size building.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit more when I compare the proposed plan with the existing site plan, because there was a space between the garage and the house.
Yeah, that's paved. That's 100% impervious.
Okay.
Yeah. So similar, right. Again, the drainage characteristics are going to be essentially the same.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jason?
No, I'm all set. Martha just asked my question. So.
Okay. Bob?
So Bob, did you say that the distance between the water line and the new deck is the same as that from the water line and the old deck?
Yeah, the deck is probably about 2 or 3 feet difference in the deck. The front wall of the house is the same spot, and the deck was about 12 feet off the house.
And the new deck will be similarly 12 feet off the house?
Yeah, yeah. The deck is the deck is pretty much
15 feet.
Yeah, this is
it
an
says
existing.
On this plan that it's 15 feet.
Well, if you look at the deck here, the deck on this portion, there was actually two decks. There's a deck on the house. There's a second deck that right now goes right up to where the tree is. That's going to be removed. So the distance from the deck to the water will actually be increased. If you look at the deck that's there now, that's going to be removed, and that's all. That whole area is going to be landscaped.
Well, I still don't see where you say that. I don't, first of all, I don't see where the deck is on this plan, the existing deck. And I see a new deck going out 15 feet from the new proposed house.
Yeah, the existing deck goes all the way out to the tree. It's not shown on this plan because it's not shown.
Oh, it's not shown.
It's going to be removed. But the previous plan you had showed it. The deck goes right out to the tree. And
my next question is, does this application include the replacement of the retaining wall, the repair and replacement of the retaining wall on the lake?
It does. The application, if you look at the plan, it has a note that the stone wall is to be repaired on the, and again, that would be during the drawdown. But yes, this is, to repair the wall is part of this application.
Okay. Well, I guess I would defer to Brad, but it would seem to me that we would need some design specifications for that retaining wall.
We could, it's a
if we're gonna
stone wall.
approve this.
It's a, I don't know if I have a,
Well, as I said, I'll defer to Brad. So that's it for me, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Ken?
I'm all set for now.
All right.
if
Brad?
if I might add some more information here for you.
Go ahead.
We are in an area of endangered species habitat or priority habitat. So we have made a filing with the natural heritage people, and we have not, two things, we have not received a DEP file number for the project, and we have also not heard from the folks at Natural Heritage. Just make you aware of that. So we will anticipate this hearing.
All right. Brad?
So I had the same concerns, question as Bob, it seems, just with that retaining wall as to what was going to be involved with the repair, because that can mean a lot of different things to different people. I've seen a simple repair note turn into a complete replacement of a wall, some different materials, different height, that kind of thing. Also, at times too, you depend on the height, you may need a building permit for it as well, and that may lead you into having to do a replacement versus having to do just simple mortar repairs or something of that nature. So I think some more thought needs to be put into what exactly needs to be done to that wall, and that needs to be specified on the plan. In addition to that, with the erosion control, I do like to see, especially in the lake, something a lot better than straw wattles. Typically the combination of the silt fence and the hay bales, to better protect the lake. The straw wattles, as we've seen so many failures with in the past. And I have not seen this particular lot yet as well. So it would be a good opportunity to take a closer look at that wall myself, just to see what might need to be done there.
Okay. All right. Hey, Bob, question for you on the sanitary sewage for the lot. Is this a town sewer setup? It must be.
Yes.
So
And
is it a pump up system? You're gonna have a
no,
pump
it's
up?
gravity feed.
Oh, beautiful. Okay.
Gravity feed. Yeah.
No. It's actually, currently the house is on a cesspool. It's gonna be tied in. It's a forced main that goes up the road. It'll be tied in with an E1 pump.
With an E1, okay, so it will be a pump up. One of the requirements we would want on the plan also, Scott, would be that you make sure the E1 has the provisions for a automatic, not an automatic, but a manual transfer switch at a minimum for a generator, because you're going to be on town water, correct?
Yes, correct.
Right, and so you could be generating sewage, and you just want to be able to get it into the town system. So manual transfer switch for a generator hookup. And if you wanted to get fancy, you can put an automatic generator in.
Okay.
It's your option. We would take a manual as long as the provision's there where you could bring a generator on site and plug it in.
Okay.
And they make them for the E1s. It's a pretty common thing.
Yes, we've dealt with it before in the past.
Okay. Let's see if anyone in the public has any questions or comments tonight.
I have one more question or thing to say. The
Yeah.
wall that's along the water, it's actually less than 4 feet tall. So it shouldn't have to deal with any building permits or anything like that. So, or structural analysis for it, having repairs done. But I just wanted to bring that up. That's all.
Well, okay, just to memorialize it on the plan, that you're, the more detail on what it is and what it's going to be when it's complete. Okay.
We will be adding.
And Mr. Chairman, I think we should still have some fairly detailed information as to what the repair is gonna entail.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he's got to include
okay,
the
good.
heights. I mean, we can't just take it a verbal, man. But
Yeah.
I agree with you, Bob. Yeah,
Good.
they've got to come up with a detail. Show the heights, I think Bob said it's a failing stone and mortar wall, right? It's mortared, but the mortar's pretty much gone.
Right. We will add a detail.
Yeah.
Like I say, we will be requesting to continue the hearing, and as
Yeah.
a result of that, we will be revising the plans with the additional information that you've requested.
Yeah.
Along with the detail.
And before we continue it, let's go to the public. Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, I'm not hearing any, so I take it you guys are going to request a continuation tonight?
Yes, we
Okay.
formally request a continuation.
All right, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is May 18th.
May 18th.
Yep, and you can, Brad, you're going to go out and see the site also, correct?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yep. You're welcome to come out on the property.
okay, we'll see you guys next month.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, you're welcome.
Bye.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Renfrew Street LLC, 9 Ridgefield Circle, Boylston, Mass. 01505, has filed a notice of intent for the construction of a single-family home at 136 Old Mill Road. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20th, 2021.
All right, do we have a rep tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting is here on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
Would you like me to give you?
Yes, give
Okay,
the
sure.
presentation.
So again, Mark Arnold with Goddard Consulting here on behalf of Lori Vinicasa for Renfrew Street LLC for the notice of intent at 136 Old Mill Road in Shrewsbury. As a matter of form, I did submit to Brad Stone this afternoon copies of the certified return receipts showing that we'd notified all abutters as required under the Act. In addition, you should have received the NOI application dated March 31st, 2021, along with a plan prepared by HS&T Group dated 3/16/2021 for the work. I'm going to attempt to share a plan, which I believe will help this presentation. So here we go. Let's see. All right. Can you see the plan now?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh. There it
Can you-
is.
There
Yep.
it is. Okay. So this is I'm gonna go to the existing conditions. So this is 136 Old Mill Road in Shrewsbury. So you have Old Mill Road right here. Kingsbrook Avenue is coming in is on the top of the page towards to the north of the site. So you have this kind of odd shaped old lot that was from an old subdivision that was probably put in, I'm not sure when. There's existing sewer within the street. There's an old paved driveway within the lot, an old stone wall. There's a large tree up front here. There's another large tree back here. The most of the site is cleared already. I'll show you an existing photo in a moment just to show you what it looks like. But generally speaking, most of the front part of the parcel here is already either manicured lawn from people at this house mowing it, or just from previous disturbance that's kept any successional forest from coming in. So that's the existing conditions, and then I'm going to pull up the. Can you see this photo now that I'm showing? Or is
Not
that?
yet. There it is.
Okay. So this is just a photo of the existing conditions of the site. So you can see this is the a driveway that's paved in there right there. This is the one tree up front, and then you got a large hemlock tree back here as well, back there. And you can see it's basically up to the slope that goes down to the brook that's down there. It's basically all existing lawn and fairly disturbed. This is the stone wall that you see right there. And then just as a different angle, hopefully you can see this other photo now. This is Google Street View, just to get another angle showing the stone wall, the tree, the existing driveway, and then this large tree right here, which I'm highlighting just because that's one of the trees that we are requesting to come down, just because it's a proximity to the back of the proposed house. So those are the existing conditions. And as background, this commission did issue a positive determination in November of 2020, determining that Kingsbrook is actually intermittent. And so that creates a 100-foot buffer zone from the bank of the brook. And also you have Old Mill Pond across the street, which also has a buffer zone off it. So this is the 100-foot buffer zone right here, and then going back over here. So you can see that label right there. So those are the existing conditions on the site. So the proposed notice of intent is for the construction of a single-family house. I'm going to go to the plan that shows the erosion control so you can see what's planned during construction. We have a proposed stone construction entrance, proposed single-family house, some minor grading here. You can see the 4114 being pulled out slightly, and again, the 212 being pulled out slightly, but it's fairly minor. We have that one tree back here that's going to come down along with the one up front. And then you've got a temporary stockpiling area up front. The house will be served with sewer and water off the front of the house. And you've got proposed silt fence and straw wattles proposed along the property line here. You can see based on the buffer zone line here that the property is plus or minus 50 feet from the edge of the actual riverbank, which is down here. So we're fairly, we have a pretty good distance from the actual river itself. We have erosion control proposed to prevent any impacts, and we would just request that the commission issue an order of conditions to allow this work to proceed.
Are you ready for questions, Mark?
Yes.
Martha?
Don't have any questions at the moment, thank you.
Bob? Jason, rather.
I don't have anything just yet. Thank you.
Bob?
All set.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
Mark, did you get a DEP file number for this yet?
We did not, so we will have to continue this meeting, but we were hoping to have at least some preliminary feedback. If the commission had any minor tweaks they wanted to make to the plan, we could make those happen before the DP numbers finished. So that was our goal tonight, was just to get the preliminary questions out of the way, make sure there's nothing else that needs to be tweaked, and then we hope to have a DP file number at the next meeting.
Okay. I do have just a few comments. One of the things I do want to take another look at is just the borderland subject to flooded, make sure the grading's okay there. But other than that, the erosion control, I do like to see that we have hay bales and silt fence in place. I also didn't see a foundation drain anywhere on the plans, and grade wise it looked like it would have to be daylighted at an elevation lower than what's existed on the property. So somebody should take a closer look at what we need to be done there.
Okay.
That's if it's going to be a gravity line.
Yes.
The other thing, I'm not sure if you're in the process of this yet, but we do have a stormwater management bylaw and regulations. In this slot, we'll need a stormwater permit, so you should start that if you haven't already.
Understood. We do have one thing I forgot to note in my presentation is we do have Coltech infiltration chambers proposed in the back of the house, so they're located right here. That's where that 414 contour comes out, and we do have a detail on the detail sheet. The chamber system is 17 feet by 16.66 feet, so it's a 5x6 unit 180 HD Coltech system proposed for the roof runoff.
Okay, I do appreciate that. As these regulations are fairly new, just as well, a lot of times the consultants that aren't aware of them, our regulations tend to go above and beyond what Wetlands Protection Act requires from time to time as well. So if you've kind of sized it in accordance with, the stormwater management policy, for instance, even though this lot isn't applicable, but if you use those standards under the Wetlands Protection Act, it may be undersized or not meet what's required in our stormwater management bylaw. So just be aware of that. Make sure that somebody's going through all the regulations on the design team and should probably start that process before this gets closed out.
Understood, Brad. I appreciate you bringing that to our attention.
And then the thought that I had, just because we deal with this quite a bit in town, is if there can be any type of landscaping or consideration along that southerly property line to prevent encroachment, because we're dealing with this issue on a number of our town parcels, and that building is pretty close to the property line there. I can see a new homeowner going in there and, in the blink of an eye, destroying the vegetation on our town parcel, and all of a sudden trying to create lawn for themselves.
Understood. So I guess you're looking for some sort of barrier, whether it could be a landscaping line, it could be a fence, or it could be possibly some large rocks, something that would prevent someone from wanting to mow beyond it. Does the commission often want signage posted as well? It is town property, so we could possibly post some signs along there as well, if the commission wanted that to be a condition. I'm not sure if you have your own signs or not. Some towns do, just to kind of provide protection there.
I think what we'll want to avoid, as Brad mentioned, is the lawn encroachment, but also there tend to be dumping issues in wetlands as well.
Mm-hmm.
So we tend to like, as a commission, large rocks. It might be worthwhile to put up a no dumping in wetland sign or something like that, at least initially.
Yeah, certainly. We could definitely do a signage. I mean, I'm not sure, Brad, if you have some language you typically do, or if you want me just to kind of figure out what I think should be on the sign and run it by you, whatever you think is best. But again, I wholeheartedly agree. Doing some signage is definitely something that we would be glad to do.
Okay, and then I'm all set, Mr. Chairman, but my only other comment is I did receive some feedback from some abutters that I kind of got the impression they may be attending this, and sometimes we do have connection issues. So if you could, when you ask the audience, be patient and see if anybody's here for that.
Okay. Mark, before we go to the public, again, what is the utility connections to this home in terms of potable water and sewage?
There's town water and sewer in the street, so we do have a plan showing the proposed 6-inch PVC from the house into the town sewer, and then you have a 1-inch domestic water line into the water main that's in the street as well, right
Okay.
off the front of the house.
So it looks like with the size of that pipe, it's a gravity sewer feed to the town line.
Yeah.
Good, okay. All right, at this point, let's go to the public with any questions or comments.
I do have, Chairman.
Please, you gotta, please state your name and your address.
Okay, sorry, thank you for this opportunity. I am from 134 Old Mill Road. My name is Ravi and I am the adjacent property. And I have 3 comments and a quick concern, which I will go very quickly. My 3 concerns are it is determined that stream is intermittent. Based on that, it is dried for 4 days. So has the conservation board has been taken into account why it dried? Because when the source of the water is the adjacent big lake, which is never dried. The second question is, this King's book was built in 2008. Whether any previous application has been denied, or if yes, how many and what are the reason and what changes? My third comment is, the property will be very close, maybe within very few meters, and the applicant is asking to cut a tree with the veggie wetland. How it will be possible that the construction will not affect the wetland or any vegetation? These are my 3 concerns, comments. My 4th one is a concern. If it eventually gets permitted to build a house, what steps the applicant will take not to destroy my lawn or my anything in my property, encroaching and destroying any of this lawn which belongs to the 134. Thank you for this opportunity.
Mark, why don't you address those?
Sure. So the reason why the stream was determined to be dry was not just because of the stream being dry below the actual dam. We actually went to the river that feeds that lake up gradient on Main Street, and we found that stream also dried up at the same time the stream below the dam dried up, which therefore determined that if the pond didn't exist, if the dam was removed or taken away because it's a man-created structure, there wouldn't have been any water flowing anywhere because the source of the pond was also dry at the same time as the water below the dam. And so that was something the commission looked at very carefully, and they wanted us to look above the pond, figure out, is the stream going into the pond dry? If it's dry, then it makes sense that there should be no water coming out of the dam. But if there's water going into the dam and there's no water coming out, then the dam could be restricting that stream. And so part of that determination last year was the question of, is the stream going into the pond dry? And that was what the determination documentation found.
Can I ask a quick question here?
Sure.
Has this driedness happened in a drought year?
According to Mass DEP, the documentation did not occur during a drought year, and DEP watches those indicators very closely. And we did not have a drought the year the documentation occurred.
And okay, go ahead.
The next question was why had previous projects been denied? Well, that was mainly because we hadn't had the documentation to show that this was not a perennial river, which would have put this project within the 100-foot riverfront area. So that was the primary issue. before the commission previously.
That
The
was the
third-
same thing happened in 2008 or 9 area when the Kingsbrook was built.
I'm not sure about that. When the Kingsbrook Ave development, I'm not familiar with that history. I just know that before it's the typically with the inner riparian zone riverfront, it's heavily relegated, and the commission is likely to deny it just because it's of the proximity to a perennial river. And again, that was the presumption at the time.
Thank you, and I would like to request the board to take a look at the history, which even if I don't know, but I have heard, I'm not sure, that there was some application has been denied that back.
Yeah, this has been debated for years and years and years, and only with these people going and doing the further research upstream has it finally been resolved. So this isn't something we took lightly.
Thank you.
And so we're pretty confident as a board right now that it has intermittent status and not perennial.
Thank you. That's exactly my point of my concern here. I'm sure you guys won't take it lightly. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that.
Okay. The third comment that the butter had was about the tree removals. So we're asking for the removal of 2 trees within the buffer zone. So that's, again, they're at least 50 plus feet away from the wetlands. So the wetlands already have about a 50-foot buffer that's vegetated and protected. Those trees are within existing lawn. They may provide some evapotranspiration from rain, but they're not going to significantly alter the area as a whole to alter the wetland itself and impact its ability to function.
So what will be the boundary of the house from the westland? What is the distance that will be?
It's at least, the house is over 50 feet. I was measuring it this afternoon with a scale, and so again, from these flags to the property line is about plus or minus 50 feet. I believe this is a 10-foot setback from the property line to the house. So I think the house is about 60 feet away.
So is it 10 feet or 60 feet, the border of the house?
So it's 60 feet from the wetlands, plus or minus. Again, I unless you want, I can pull up.
No, that's okay. That's okay. I'm sure. That's fine.
It's about 60 feet from the wetlands. It's 10 feet from the property line. So you have 50 feet of town land approximately before the property starts. And that's something that, again, the commission we're going to address in our next plan revision about how to protect, to make sure that the town property doesn't get encroached. Lastly, your comment about protecting your lawn, I do have to say I do agree with you, and I think what we can do is we can make sure that we get the erosion control plan changed. So right now we have it ending right here outside the buffer zone, but I think I will recommend to the applicant that we'll run straw water and silt fence along the property line to make sure that we don't trespass onto your property. So that erosion control will protect equipment from possibly crossing over. It'll be a visual barrier, prevent any sediment that could possibly move around, and that way it'll be stable. It'll be controlled until the area is stable. So again, we'll have this erosion control has to be staked out by a surveyor. The commission typically inspects the erosion controls before they're installed, and they can have a surveyor sign off that the erosion control is staked in the correct locations on the plan, which would be, for your case and your main concern, along the property line. And again, that would be a licensed surveyor who is licensed to make those determinations and stake those locations.
Thank you, Mark. Can I ask a quick question here?
Sure.
I think I can find that information, but you may have it handy. Do you know what is the distance between the Mishra and Pandya property, that is 130 to 134, and the property line of 136? What is the distance we are looking there?
I don't know, but from my basic eye, from reviewing plans, it looks like I would say it's 10 feet from the house to the property line. That's what it looks like. This plan was a 1 inch equals 40 plan. If this is 100 feet from this wetland flag up to this line right here, that's 100 feet. The space between this house, the house that you're talking about, and the property line looks like it's about 10 feet.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any questions. My request to the board is that they will take a reasonable decision based on their history and all the information available. Thank you very much.
All right. Do we have any other questions or comments from the public tonight?
Hello, Mr. Chairman, and the board. My name is Suresh Ural. I live on 15 Kingsbrook Avenue. So I do have some concern regarding some of the things that I read, and based on what Mr. Arnold mentioned, he himself called this stream as a river, which is what it is as I read through the WPA regulation. And also Mr. Arnold mentioned about the status of calling this intermittent was based on what is feeding to the pond over there. Now we live here, we see this throughout the year, and we have not seen it getting dry at all. What the part of the stream that is closest to the proposed construction of the house is being fed by the pond, and the pond is not dried anytime.
Yep.
And
Can
like to.
Suresh, yeah, Suresh, can I stop you there, because we have been through this determination on the status of that stream. It's been in debate for years, and they did their due diligence in going out and, measuring or observing stream flow and documenting it, and it met the criteria to be an intermittent stream. So at this point in time, we can't change the status to perennial. And I think that's what you're getting at. So I mean, we've got a lot on our plate, and this isn't one of them, because this has been debated in the past, and it was through, public meetings, and we have come up with the opinion that it is an intermittent stream. They've proven it, and there's nothing you're going to offer tonight that's going to change that. So it is what it is, you met the definition, and so if you have any comments regarding the project as it applies to the Wetlands Protection Act now in the 100-foot buffer zone, we can entertain that.
Thank you for the information. I appreciate what you said. I was not aware of this being discussed, and I was not present for those.
Yeah,
so
I
evidence
understand. Yeah.
Is the evidence available for us to see? I understand that some decision has been made, but I would like to understand and see for myself and anything else.
Yeah, Mark, you were present in part of that investigation, correct?
I was. So
Yeah.
the determination.
So if you could give the dates, maybe this is going to be a continued hearing. Also,
Correct.
we're going to be back next month discussing this hearing.
Yep.
And if Mark can maybe I don't know if how to put your number out to Sarish.
Well, the best thing would be our office number is 508-393-3784. I'll repeat again. It's 508-393-3784. And again, if you call us with what you're looking for, we can definitely provide you the information that we submitted to the commission in regards to that determination, along with the issue determination. I'm glad to share that record. Again, we had to do multiple years of documentation because the commission was very careful about this, and I have to say the commission was good to be consistent, and you were consistent in what you requested, and so it took us years to make sure that we got the documentation when it needed to be done, correctly done, in the right way, in the right form, so that way the commission could feel confident that they were making a careful decision.
Yep, and Mark, also maybe if you could give Sarish the date of the public hearing that it was presented. You presented the
Yep, certainly. I can find
he should be able to go online and pull down the actual hearing and review it. Is that correct, Brad? I just want to make sure I'm giving the correct information.
Yeah, I'll pull our records and confirm which meetings that was discussed at, and that way he can ask Brad for those meeting minutes.
Okay.
Thank you for that. I will definitely take a look at this, and get back. And meanwhile, Mr. Chairman and the board, please review all this again and one more time carefully before you make any decisions. I am really concerned.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other people from the public who wish to make any comments here tonight?
Hi, good evening. We would like to make some comments. My name is Dr. Liz Garwood. I live at 151 Old Mill Road, essentially across the street from the proposed development. I'm here with my husband, Dostar Powell. Can you hear us okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So we love this area. This is a very special area here on Mill Pond and the egress of Mill Pond, which is Kingsbrook. And I think that's why you're hearing some really passionate pleas about this project. So since receiving this notice, we've done a little bit of research to try to understand this process. And I've read the Shrewsbury master plan, I've reviewed the zoning maps, and I just want to make sure that this application is in line with Shrewsbury's goals for residential development. And when considering this plot of land specifically, I have 4 concerns. One is the density of development. And I think it's a little bit difficult to appreciate just from this map how tight of a fit this house is going to be wedged between an existing house in the wetland, and Old Mill Road is already densely developed. Number 2, which hasn't been raised yet, is traffic safety.
All right, can I stop? I know where you're
Sure.
going
Okay.
with these 2 questions.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with Conservation Commission.
Okay.
Okay. So if it has to be pertinent to the Wetland Protection Act, and they have a right to build if they can meet the requirements of the zoning bylaws, the town zoning bylaws, and the Wetlands Protection Act in this case. So traffic doesn't apply.
Okay.
The housing density doesn't apply. So if you have other questions regarding the
Let me try
wetland-
2 more. So another
Okay.
one is the
All right.
potential historical significance of this plot. It's the site of the Orindone Mill.
Yep, not applicable.
Okay, and then the last one is the potential environmental sensitivity of this land around the pond. You know, this is a very biodiverse area. The pond and the surrounding land supports that could potentially be impacted by additional development around the pond and the pond egress.
Right, and we try as best we can to, minimize any impacts to any of the wetland resources. And, we have minimum offsets to the wetlands, to the building, and the town guidance that we've had for years. So that we try on every project. And so we're on board with you there. But they do have a right to build on the property, and you can't deny them that right if they meet, the zoning requirements. And as I said, if they meet the Wetland Protection Act requirements. So we're working for you. We all are in town. That's why we're here. But
okay, great.
Yeah, I mean the housing development stuff like that. That's the master scale type planning that we're not involved in. Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to be back next month on this hearing too. So if you're still interested, tune in on May 18th.
So, sorry, this is Dr. Dostar Powell.
Yes.
So this is going to be a continued public hearing, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. And is there any, so this commission, I understand, is for the wetlands, but in regards to the historic and or traffic and other safety concerns, what would be the proper forum to discuss that?
Planning board, but see, this doesn't even meet the need, I don't believe, to go to planning board. So, you're basically looking at the zoning is what regulates, what's a safe development.
Even
Options
like
are.
when something is kind of adjacent to a dangerous intersection, this intersection is kind of unique. And, yeah.
Yeah, I know, it's
No
a
one
lot.
really takes that into consideration.
Not that I'm aware
I
of.
think that's all been,
Okay.
I think that's all been studied before.
Yeah. I mean, you go around
Well
town
before.
at every
For
intersection
years.
you have in town, there's houses. And I know I've lived in town for years, and that is a tricky intersection down there.
Mhm.
So I hear what you're saying, but
Anything else?
yep,
Okay, well, thank you so
Okay.
much for letting us
Okay.
comment. We appreciate it.
yep. Thanks for your comments.
And Mr. Chairman, this is Suresh again. I would like to thank you for what you said in regard to that other couple. We are working for you. You said that's a hope for us. We were not aware of the other hearing that determined the intermittent nature of it. And it's what you said is what we go with. And thank you for those words. That gives us some kind of hope.
You're welcome, Suresh.
Thank you.
Any other comments on this hearing tonight? All right, I don't hear any. And Brad, I'm not sure if you brought up the fact that I think we want hay bales and silt fence rather than the straw wattles and silt fence. I think that was what is proposed.
Yeah, we currently have straw wattles and silt fence. We're more about 50 feet away from the wetlands already. But if you want hay bales, I'm just making sure you're okay with hay bales. You don't ban hay bales and want straw bales.
Well, I shouldn't say that. Yeah, I know what you're saying from the seed standpoint.
If you want straw bales, that's
yeah.
fine. I just want to make sure.
Let's get Brad to chime in here. He's the expert on. Brad.
But I mean, that's not something that I think we've debated in the past. But yeah, I mean, there's always a potential to get invasives when you use hay, but we haven't prohibited hay in the past.
Yeah.
So Mark, we haven't prohibited hay, but I think the preference would be for straw.
I will request that we do straw. I doubt the applicant will object to that. So I will, because I believe straw is better than hay, I will push for straw.
Thank you. And that might help alleviate some of the biodiversity concerns.
Okay. All right. Let's continue this hearing. There is no file number for this, so we cannot close it. And we will continue it until our next meeting, which is May 18th.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.
You ready for the next one, Mr. Chair?
Yep, go ahead, Martha.
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Elevation Realty, 905 Hartford Turnpike, Shrewsbury, has filed an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation for property located at 855 Hartford Turnpike. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20th, 2021.
Do we have a representative tonight?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. It's Patrick Healy from Thompson Liston.
All right.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Thank you. Could you also unmute the phone number ending in 02? We have Nicole Hayes from Goddard Consulting.
I think Brad can do that. I can't do it.
No, we're not able to unmute somebody. Only the individual user can unmute themselves.
So
Could you
star
explain to
6.
Nicole how to do that?
Star 6
Okay,
to unmute.
Yep. Hello, this is Nicole from Goddard Consulting. Can you hear me?
Yep.
There we go.
Great. Well, I'll give a little presentation if you so wish. We're here with an abbreviated resource area of notice delineation to confirm the wetland resources that are on the site. The resources that are on the site include bordering vegetated wetland, intermittent stream channel bank, and also a small area of riverfront channel. I don't know if Brad has gotten a chance to go out to the site and review the wetland flags that are on the site. if he does have any questions about the flagging or the resources, I'd be happy to answer any questions he has.
Do we have a plan, Mr. Chairman, that we can put up?
Brad will have to see. I'm trying to find.
Or
one
how
on
about,
my
how about the
iPad.
petitioners?
Yes, I can present if you'd allow me.
Yeah, definitely.
Can you see that?
Not yet.
Can you see that?
Coming up now.
Okay. The property is located on Route 20, Hartford Turnpike. And the wetland resources are located to the west side of the property. You can see two sections here. There's a 100-foot buffer zone from the bank, and there's a 200-foot riverfront area that ends from the point where the perennial stream begins.
And what's the basis for your measurement? Is stream bank? Is that how are you? How are you?
This is Nicole
Yes.
from Goddard Consulting. The river starts according to the USGS map. It's located on the plan. It says beginning of brook at R1. This is where it starts to become perennial on the USGS map, which is the regulating authority. Also, this riverfront area has been looked at for the adjacent parcel just within the past few years. I believe Ecotech did a line that was reviewed by the commission and agreed upon that was the start of the riverfront area. So this resource has been looked at in the relatively not far away past and determined that the start of the river was at that point.
All right.
This is the stream that's the headwaters of the stream that goes by the Christmas tree shop property,
Okay.
correct? Crosses Walnut Street.
It crosses Hartford Turnpike, that's for sure. Let me look on the USGS. Has Brad been out?
It's close to, isn't it closer to that storage place? Those,
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
If Brad hasn't been out to take a look at the flags, I can gladly take a site walk with him or anybody from the commission who's interested. I can meet them on site and we can review the flags and the resources in the field. I also did a stream stats analysis, and that was included in the ANRAD.
Yeah, let's bring Brad on. I think Brad's taking a look at this to see what his views are. Brad?
Yep, I'm here. Just had to unclick a few things.
Okay.
So I do know there's some history here. You know, unfortunately, a lot of our stuff's in archives at the moment, and I hadn't had time to dig in through all of it. But I am familiar with some past projects that have happened there and some that haven't happened there. The only real question I had was how exactly that beginning of brook was determined here, because we do basically go by the USGS map at this point. If we're looking at it as riverfront, which they're shown here, then you're looking at that particular map, which shows, and it's one of those streams that probably haven't been really well analyzed by USGS, because it does, for some reason, intuitively, I wouldn't have expected to see something perennial or at that location based on my knowledge of the site, but it is there. And it does show, at least on our GIS, it kind of protrudes a little bit further northerly, I guess, that particular line, based on the property lines that are on our GIS system, which those themselves may not be in the most accurate location. But so I guess that's really the only question I have, is how it was determined that that particular point was the beginning or the end of the perennial part of the stream.
Again, this is Nicole from Goddard Consulting. I looked at the USGS map, which is the regulatory authority on the riverfront. And when I was in the field, I was looking at the USGS map and the property bounds and lines. There's a culvert right where I put the riverfront flag number 1. There's a culvert. Also, up gradient of the culvert, the stream channel is not as, doesn't look like it's used as much, I guess you could say. The staining wasn't very prominent. There wasn't much undercutting in the channel. And then south of the culvert, there was actually flowing water during the delineation, and it wasn't flowing above the culvert. The channel was much more eroded. There was stained leaves. And also, the evidence that I used for the start of the riverfront area was there was some old Ecotech flags. And when I talked to Brad, I actually called him while I was in the field, and he had remembered that there was a previous, I believe it was a notice of intent that had that channel in it, and that was the start of the riverfront area that they used in a previous filing that was accepted with the commission. So with all those perimeters, that's how I determined the start of the riverfront area. And again, we can look at it together in the field, but with all those perimeters, that's how I determined to start.
Are you comfortable, Brad, with that?
So to answer your question, John, no, I'm not sure, because really, what, as far as I know, based on my knowledge of the regulations, what's going to determine where that change from perennial to, well, from intermittent to perennial as it's flowing downstream in this case, is going to be where you see that thick solid blue line on the USGS. And I think I was able to share that. Is that what the commission's looking at right now, is USGS map?
Yep. I can see it.
Okay. Right. So, and again, if you recall, I can't quickly switch between this and the plan, but if you recall what was on the plan in relation to this kind of property corner here, I think my recollection of the plan a few minutes ago showed the perennial portion of it starting kind of down in this area. So that was really what my main question was, is how did we get that point as the change in the stream status? Typically it's where the point is on the USGS. I'm not aware of anything in the regs that allows somebody to make a visual observation, to look at other things, to kind of pick and choose, well, this is where it would be, this is where it wouldn't be, other than if you're trying to overcome the perennial presumption, and then you're looking at, it simply, dries up for 4 days during a 12-month period. But that's really all I have. So I guess we can look into that a little bit more. I don't know if a field visit is necessary for that. If there's something in the regulations I'm not quite aware of that would, convince me there's another way to look at it, then sure, I'd entertain that as well.
Mr. Chair, Dr. Keeley again. I would just like to quiz Nicole on this because we both looked at it. There's a transition between the natural stream channel and a man-made drainage ditch that was built to cut off flow above the parking lot. And where those two join is this point where it transitions and becomes a perennial stream. Can you confirm that, Nicole?
Yes, yep. Maybe we should take a look at it in the field together. And also we should look at the past filings for the adjacent parcel, because if that has been decided upon in the past as this is the start of the riverfront area, I mean, I'm not going to want to concede and go more to the north if that has been the case in the precedent in the past.
So if I could comment on that, the only thing that I would see is having longer standing in terms of the resource area delineation, other than your typical 3 years, would be in direct observation, for instance, of the overcoming of the perennial presumption. So if there's a a survey error or something else in there in terms of where that point's located, that's not anything that would typically carry over from prior decisions that have expired. The other thing that happens is these USGS maps are changed on a they're not changed yearly, but they are updated. And I think the most current one that we're looking at these days, or at least as of not too long ago, was the 2018. I should probably look to see if there's anything more current than that, but I know there's at least one from 2018, and that was the one that I just showed the commission right now. So I'm not convinced that something in the past, particularly if it's expired at this point, has any weight on the commission's decision at this point.
Okay, no, and this is Nicole from Goddard again. Yes, I agree. I agree with what you just said. Now I can't see the screen sharing because I'm only on the phone, but where were you thinking that the perennial stream went up to? And how did you figure that out from, like, did you scale it off or how did you determine that from the USGS map to the ANRAD plan?
Right. So I didn't measure it myself. That's why I asked the question how you had determined that location. And it sounded from what I heard that it was more or less in the field, it was decided it was going to be here rather than a measurement from, an overlay of the USGS onto your project plan, for instance. So that was why I brought it up. It wasn't because I had done a measurement and came up with something different.
So Nicole, what we're looking at on the screen is the town GIS that's zoomed in on the parcel with the USGS map loaded as a background. So what we're seeing is that the channel goes a little bit beyond that little jog in the property line behind the Rainbow Motel.
Okay, so what do you, maybe up to like wetland flag 19? Because all I can see is the ANRAD plan.
Okay, so it's probably in line with what you're showing as wetland flag 20, possibly 19, maybe in between the two. But as you identified it on the plan, that is the man-made drainage channel.
Right.
Sort of separate from the natural stream channel.
Right. Okay, well, I can definitely do an overlay of the USGS map and also measure it and up against the ANRAD plan. I can definitely do that. And I can provide
I don't think it would hurt to, yeah, excuse me, I didn't mean to, I thought you were done. I I think it probably would be worthwhile just as any additional events so that I can see what you were looking at and describing for the commission, because like I said, these USGS maps, I found them to be very good in some instances, and in others, the streams aren't even within a quarter of a mile where they actually are. So this may have been an attempt to define where this man-made channel that you're describing comes into what's more natural. And if there's something that you looked at there that I can take a closer look at. I wasn't thinking that before. I was, it wasn't. We've got so much going on. I'm thinking flag delineations, look at them and get out of there kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's something worth taking a closer look at, I think.
Sure. Yep. And I don't mind doing that with you. Whenever your schedule allows, or if you want to do it by yourself and get back to me, and I can, get you that overlay information. It's totally up to you.
I think we're going to have to continue anyhow, Mr. Chair, since we don't have a DEP file number. So,
Correct.
If there's time before the next meeting when Mr. Stone can get out there, we'd appreciate that.
Okay, let's just quickly go down, commissioners, and see if they have anything else to add tonight. Martha,
I do not. Thank you.
Jason,
No, nothing.
Bob?
No, I agree with Mr. Healy that we should, that they and Brad should come to some agreement here and then come to our next meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Ken?
All set.
And we know what Brad thinks. Is there anyone in the public tonight listening in that might want to say something? Okay, I'm not hearing anyone, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is May 18th.
Thank you. We'll see you then.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Martha?
Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that the town of Shrewsbury, 100 Maple Avenue, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the demolition of the existing police station and construction of a new police station with associated site improvements at 100 and 150 Maple Ave. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, April 20th, 2021.
Okay, who's presenting tonight?
This is Victoria Houle with Fussin O'Neill. I have on the line as well with me Amy Bell. I will give you an overall sort of site visit. All right, so the proposed project that we're presenting on today includes the demolition of the existing police station that is at 100 Maple Ave, construction of the new police station, which is approximately 31,125 square feet in size, construction of a new parking area for the police station, and parking lot reconfiguration and improvement to the existing parking area located to the west of Town Hall. The project includes work on both 100 and 150 Maple Avenue properties. Total on-site parking will be increased from 238 to 342 parking spaces. There are new pedestrian connections made to Maple Avenue along the sidewalk there, along with landscaping improvements. 2 exterior radio towers proposed in the rear, one with an emergency generator and a new dumpster pad. The parking area adjacent to the police station will have an 8-foot-high stockade fence. And I will now turn it over to Amy to go over the sort of wetlands impacts and also updates on the stormwater that have changed since the time you have originally seen them. Amy, do you want me to keep sharing this file for you?
Yes, please. That's
Okay.
actually a good plan for right now.
Good evening, Amy Bell with Fuss and O'Neill. The wetland delineation was completed back in March of 2020 by Fuss and O'Neill and VHB. Wetlands on the site adjacent to the property include bordering vegetated wetlands, isolated wetlands, and those are marked out in green on the map that you guys are currently looking at. There is a intermittent stream located on the adjacent property of 100 and 200 Maple Ave. However, it is approximately 700 feet north of the property, so we will not be affecting that. Proposed work is only located within the associated buffer of the BVW. We do not propose to disturb any of the wetlands on site. Stormwater features. Test pits were performed on April 7th after the initial notice of intent was submitted. I do believe Brad Stone was out on site to witness a majority of those. Data was concluded to show that groundwater was higher than what the initial geotech borings had suggested. Groundwater ranged from 12 inches to 52 inches below existing grade. There was test pits completed in each of the former locations of where the stormwater was proposed. However, due to the groundwater, we have redone the stormwater calculations. And if I may share now, I can bring up an updated plan for that. Come on. Can everybody see that?
Yeah, the scale is so small, it's so difficult.
Yes, I will zoom in. Is that better?
Better, but not great. That's better.
Okay. So the stormwater design has been adjusted and redone to account for the groundwater. We have eliminated all of the underground infiltration chambers that we had previously proposed and replaced them with 3 bioretention basins. One up here in the north, which was in the area previously proposed. One down here near the road. Originally we had a small one right here. This one has been enlarged. And then another one down over here by the road. Same thing, there was a small one over here. This one has been enlarged to accommodate more stormwater. These stormwater bioretention areas have been designed to meet the stormwater handbook to the maximum extent possible, being one portion of the project is redevelopment, and 2, due to the soil types that are currently out on site being C's and D's and the high groundwater, the standards have been met to the max. Peak discharges will still be met. Peak discharges for the 2, 10, 25, and 50-year and 100-year storm will be either exactly as existing or reduced. There is no new untreated proposed discharge points to any wetland or to Maple Ave. As said, due to the groundwater elevations and the soils types, we are not able to provide groundwater recharge, unfortunately. However, the basins have been designed, the project has been designed to meet at least 80% TSS removal. That TSS removal will be completed through the bioretention basins that we are currently proposing now, and stormwater treatment structures, something similar to a Fort Century or a CDS unit, something like that. And deep sump hooded catch basins are proposed. All of the treatment BMPs have been sized and will be sized to meet the 1-inch water quality volume. ENS is proposed on the site in the form of construction entrance pads. There'll be one at each location of the new driveways. Silt fence backed with straw bales will be proposed around the backside perimeter where the wetlands are to ensure no sediment enters the wetlands. Catch basins inserts will be proposed within any of the existing catch basins that are located on site in the town hall area and down along Maple Ave that may be affected by the project. ENS matting will be proposed on any slopes that are greater than 3 to 1. There are temporary sediment basins proposed on the project as well for during construction, and those are shown on the ENS plans. There'll be one down over here, one down in here, and one up in this area in here, just to make sure that we catch stormwater during construction. The contractor will be responsible for preparing the SWIP and the construction general permit for construction. Operation and maintenance control plans are proposed for the stormwater BMPs. That is included with the stormwater report. And the revised stormwater calculations and grading plans and plans will be completed and provided to the commission and to, I believe it was the planning board for the stormwater permits when those are completed, and we are hoping to do that by early next week, the week of April 26th. That's at this time. If anybody has any questions, or Victoria, if you have anything else to add.
Well, I think we can open it to questions. We did submit for the stormwater permit through the Department of Public Works. Also, there's a site plan hearing with the planning board that will be upcoming, and we will be submitting the updated stormwater stuff to all of the entities.
Okay, let's go to questions from the commission. Martha?
So that's really interesting. You had to completely change your design. So I guess one of my questions is, these bioswales are accepting stormwater runoff from the building as well as the parking area?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Where they're located in the front of the building and so close to Maple Ave, I just wonder if there is a way to think about them as a design element that is more than just structural to solve the stormwater problem, but could be used as a model of up-to-date ecological techniques for above ground management of stormwater. So I don't have particular things to suggest, but perhaps you do. Yeah, go ahead.
That is a great idea, because even in terms of the sidewalks and stuff, we've made sure to sort of make a community effort to connect people from Maple Ave to accessing the site. And there are different amenities like benches in different areas and things like that. And originally there was a rain garden that was proposed more towards the rear, and we talked about an education opportunity, but it was more towards the rear. So I think now, it's one of those, silver linings, like, we can't do any of the underground, but you have this area where now you're, very present. So we will definitely look at sort of tying in that public education piece to it.
Okay. Thank you. I think I'll stop there.
Jason,
No questions at this time.
Bob,
I just want to make sure, because this plan is so difficult to see, Brad, I want to make sure that this is compliant with our policies, the 30 feet separation and things like that. So that's my only comment.
okay. Ken,
I'm all set.
Brad,
I think one of my questions has been answered, that we don't have the revised plans yet, so we'll look forward to seeing those. The only other question I had, so that we can kind of get ahead of the game here, is has anyone on the design team reached out to Mass DOT yet in terms of what they may require for the connections into Maple Avenue because of their MS4 concerns?
So we are preparing the access permit applications for the new driveway location and the relocated driveway. We don't anticipate any stormwater comments, but those will likely be submitted by the end of this week. So.
Okay, the only reason I bring that up is we have had some comments from them in the past, and I'm also hearing from other communities through the stormwater groups that I'm familiar with, that there have been different sites, at least out throughout central Mass, most of the communities I'm familiar with, that there have been some roadblocks, let's say, in terms of getting those connections resolved. So that's, make sure that it sounds like you've already started a discussion with them, and go from there. Oh, that's all.
Brad, is there a file number for this one?
Not yet. There isn't. No.
No. So this one we can't close tonight then.
Well, we don't even have the revised plans yet, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, yeah, the revised plans haven't even hit you? Oh, okay. I
Right.
didn't realize that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Is there anyone in the public tonight who has any questions or comments? It doesn't sound like we have anybody chiming in, so we will continue this hearing until our next meeting, which is May 18th.
Thank you.
Yeah, just a quick question for you guys. When was the latest revisions done for these above ground water
So
quality basins?
We did the tests were done on April 7th, so we've internally been working on them. I think the design team will have them wrapped up this week, but our plan was to forward revised plans along with the updated stormwater report to sort of all groups at the beginning of next week.
Okay, so what we were seeing tonight, they're actually still in the works then, in other words, that's the latest.
Well, what we're showing you today, you have never seen before, but will be what you see when you get them next week. Yeah.
They're gonna be pretty close to what you see right now.
Okay.
There'll be minimal changes to what you saw tonight.
Minus some typos, so that's it.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll continue the hearing until May 18th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your time.
Yep. The last one was supposed to be a new public meeting regarding the request for determination of applicability filed by Orlando Silva for the removal of trees at 191 North Quinsigamon Avenue. Unfortunately, it got advertised as South Quinsigamon Avenue and has to be re-advertised. So we cannot hear that one tonight. So let's call that a postponement till next month. But there will be a re-advertisement to the public. Okay, let's go down and discuss the orders of conditions we've issued tonight.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to move that we issue an order of conditions to wait a minute, no, to,
Lake Quinsigamon,
for the-
Lake Quinsigamon.
yeah, for the Lake Quinsigamon Association to implement a long-term vegetation management plan at or about 144 Sewell Street, Newton Pond.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second, but I believe it's the Lake Quinsigamon Commission.
It is, it was a typo error, Ken.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a second with a correction. And all in favor, let's do roll call. Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John, myself, aye.
Mr. Chairman, I further move that we issue an order of conditions to Leuven Realty for the construction of a medical office building at 235 Main Street.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And myself, John, aye.
And Mr. Chairman, I further move that we issue an order of conditions to Christopher Wild for the construction of a single-family home addition, deck and grading at 216 North Street, with a condition that the erosion control features be comprised of silt fence and hay bales.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And John, myself, aye. The negative, we voted, did we vote on that?
We did.
No, we did not.
No, we
No,
didn't.
we
I don't think we actually
voted-
did.
We voted a negative,
We said,
and then we continued.
that's
we
right. We
continued
did,
the-
but we did
the
vote
one-
on that, yeah. Because,
Yeah, we voted on the negative,
yep.
but we continued the one at 855 Boston Turnpike.
Yes, you're right. You're right. Yep. All right. So that was it. That's all we can vote on, right? At
That's
the
it.
moment under orders of
That's right.
conditions. So next on our list is certificates of compliance. And Brad, do you want to give us a rundown?
Yes, I recommend that the commission issue all four of these, the one for Woodside Drive, the two for 870 to 890 Hartford Turnpike, that was one order, but it was amended, so there's two outstanding on the title. And also the one for 32 Westview Avenue.
Okay. We have to vote on these, so can we vote on them as a block, Brad, as a list them all and vote, take a vote, or take them individually? Individually?
Whatever you're comfortable with. If you think the vote's going to go unanimous
Mr.
for all of
Chairman,
them.
I would make a motion that we issue a subsequently signed certificate of compliance for 4 Woodside Drive, 870 Hartford and 890 Hartford Turnpike, 870 to 890 Hartford Turnpike as amended, and 32 Westview Avenue.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And myself, John, aye. Excellent. All right, Brad, discuss an enforcement order.
Give me one sec.
Yep, 14A Deerfield Road.
Okay, can everyone see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So this was brought to our attention that there was some recent activity on this particular lot. So there is, I'll pull up the base map too. So you can see the perennial stream off to the westerly property line area through here. And so that would be riverfront. This is the 2015 aerial, and here you have the 2020 aerial view. So you can see there's a lot of the forested area within the riverfront removed in this particular area for this landscape. And in addition to that, I have not met with the homeowners or walked the property, but I did walk the Conservation Commission owned parcel, which is just to the south over here, and was able to observe what was over there and look a little bit closer at the stream. And I'll share that photo too. So there's a picture of, is that bridge up now?
Yep.
Okay, so there's a picture of a recently constructed footbridge over the stream. And I kind of walked in different areas. Yeah, as I walk closer to the stream, it looks like some activity was done within the stream itself in terms of probably some heavy equipment with the moving some things around there as well to try to create that waterfall effect. I can't see upstream of that to see what's there right now, but I'm hoping to get a hold of the property owners and meet with them and take a closer look at some point. The enforcement order that I've been drafting has been taking a little bit of time because internally our records don't seem to have the right info for the owners there. So I've been digging a little bit deeper into the title just to make sure I've got all of that correct info. I have run into that problem with enforcement orders in the past, and it's caused all kinds of problems and delays, and I'm just trying to avoid that part of it. But essentially that's what's going on with that particular property there.
All right, so the next thing is you're going to be speaking to him, Brad, and
I hope to be, yes.
take it from there. Okay, so there's nothing for us to do tonight. Are we going to sign the enforcement order or provide one to them, or are you going to go?
So I would suggest, so normally what happens in timing wise, I'm usually more efficient, but the projects and COVID and everything else has really slowed us down, and just the amount of filings we've gotten. I usually send these out and then you vote afterwards. If you want to vote to issue it now, then I can have you formally sign it when you do come in for signatures. That's what I would suggest, because ultimately they have to be voted on by the commission anyway.
All right. So does someone want to make a motion then to?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would move that we issue an enforcement order as necessary to the property owner of 14A Deerfield Drive, Deerfield Road.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Martha?
Aye.
Jason?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And myself, John, aye. Okay, and we have one last item. It's to discuss and appoint a member of the Conservation Commission to the Community Preservation Committee. And I'd like to recommend someone. Martha, would you accept the seat on that?
I would gladly accept that appointment, and I thank you for making it, Mr. Chair.
All right, so I'll make a motion that we appoint Martha as our member to hold a seat on the Community Preservation Committee. Do we have a second?
Second.
I happily second that.
And do we have all in favor? Martha, you get to vote for yourself, I think.
First vote, aye.
Jason?
A very big aye.
Okay. Bob?
Aye.
Ken?
Aye.
And myself, John, aye. Congratulations, Martha.
Thank you.
Okay, and that wraps it up. Does anybody have anything else they would like to say tonight, or?
I have one last thing, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go ahead, Brad.
One of the things I'm a little behind on as well is the Trails Committee has reached out to me regarding doing some additional blazing at Camp Wonigan. So if there's any commission member that wants to participate in the site walk to see what they're proposing out there, I know we've done that at least once in the past with them. You're more than welcome to just shoot me an email, and I'll see that you can be present at that site walk as well.
Okay.
Brad, are they proposing new trails or to reblaze existing trails?
I believe it's new trails in a different portion of the property. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, would someone like to make the final motion of the night?
Motion to adjourn.
Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor, Martha,
Aye.
Jason,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Ken,
Aye.
and myself, John, aye. All right, thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night,
Thank you.
all.
Thanks.
Thanks,
Have a good
Brad.
night.
Good night.